Previously on Devo's Garage, we started working on the old first gen. Getting the turbo out of there, we got the exhaust manifold off. Start taking apart the fuel system, getting those lines out of there. We've got the injectors taken out. Moved on taking the valve covers off. Changed out all the valve springs. Get the pedestals back on. Put some new head bolts on those. Got them torqued down. Replaced all the rest of the head bolts. Got those torqued down. Then we set the valve lash on it and finished off with putting the valve covers back on with some new gaskets. In today's episode, we'll be tackling the fuel system, exhaust manifold, test fit, get the turbo on there, and see what kind of work we got to do to that exhaust to get everything to fit up. So sit back with your cozy drink and let's get into it. Moving on the old Dodge, with valve covers back on and everything, we're moving on to a bit more of the fuel stuff. I was going to put the injectors in, but we're holding off on that just yet because I forgot. I actually have a couple other parts I want to put on. A few of the parts I actually had gotten for it was one of these high volume, low pressure pumps from the Hungry Diesel, and fuel pin and governor spring as well, to go along with the new injectors I'll be putting in there. I'm pretty sure it has a fuel pin in there already, but I wanted to try a new one out because I was getting the governor spring anyways, and this came as a little bit of a kit. So we're trying that out on the old Dodge. So this next part, we'll pull the pump apart, get the governor spring swapped out, and then we'll pull the cap off and pull the pin out, swap that. And then after that, it gets put back together. We're going to come down here and swap out this pump down here with a new high volume one. I'm going to pull this intake pipe off just to make getting down here a little easier. Well, and then we'll move on to this guy, since we got to pull this cap off to do the fuel pin, and then the whole top of this pump assembly will come off to do the governor spring. Yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah, look at that. It does have a fuel pin in it. Well, it no longer has a fuel pin in it. Like we were saying, looks like it does have a fuel pin in it. Wonder what kind it is. Seems like it was wearing all right. But yeah, we're going to swap this one out with one of the THD ones, just because it came with the kit, and we'll see if we notice any difference. But it looks like I'm not the first one to be getting into this pump. Somebody was in here messing around at some point. Pretty sure it's even got, the pump itself has been clocked over to advance the timing just a little bit. A lot of guys will use that one lift bracket on the other side of the cylinder one valve cover. I actually had to bend it back just so I could get one of the head bolts in. So I'm pretty sure they probably ratcheted it off of there. And next we got to work on taking this linkage off. This is your throttle part here. And then we can pop this guy up and out of here. One thing to keep in mind when you're pulling this stuff apart is on this shaft here, there are, or at least on this plate, there are some indexing marks, and you want to make sure you get this shaft indexed back to this guy in the right spot, or else it might have trouble starting in the end once we're all back together. So we'll make a mark on it and go from there. After get this cleaned off, I'll give you guys a little bit better view of what I'm talking about. This thing can kind of focus. You should be able to see those little notches on there. And there's a kind of almost a Phillips head or a flathead. Well, there's like a flathead on the top of the shaft. And I'm going to use that and see which one it lines up with. And then we'll try to make sure we get that back in the same position. On mine, it looks like we're set to the second notch from this bottom one and second notch from this top one. So long as we can get her back into that same position, we'll be golden. Oh, glove stuck on the spring. You gotta see now where those notches are. There we go. So it's got some dirt in them. Can't get all the way in. There we go. Perfect. Oh, I forgot a thing. I forgot to take off the fuel return line. Whoops. So we'll thread these back in. So we have some, so the pump doesn't just move around on us when we crack that loose. All these loose enough now? I think so. Oh, come on, Mr. Fuel Line, get out of the way. I just gotta shove the shaft through here. Come here, you. Come here. There we go. Just let that hang for a second. Here's the spring we'll be taking off. We'll replace that with a 366. That looks like it's a 388. Not sure what that entails, but this is a lower RPM governor than what I'll be putting into it. I'm putting the, I think the spring is called a 366. It's supposed to, I think it's rated for 3,200 RPM. So first off is get that guy off of there. We'll put him out of the way. Next, there's this little spring-loaded guy. We'll slide our spring off. Just like so. Out with the old, and in with the new. Got you hooked on. And then we'll get you slipped on there. Perfect. Now we got our 366 on there. Easy peasy. The hard part is the next part where I guess there's lots of issues with your fuel screw. Pushes on this fulcrum here. And guys say when trying to put it back on, there's a chance of breaking this fulcrum if you leave the fuel screw popped all the way in. So I'm going to have to thread that out. Then we can get the pump cover back on and put this back together. I'll show you a little bit closer what I was talking about. So here's the fuel screw on the back side. See, we're kind of threaded in there, but on the inside of the pump, you can see right here where that screw is touching, and that is what goes against that fulcrum. So we're going to thread it out so that this is no longer protruding inside of the pump, and get this cover put back on. And then we'll thread it back into the same, Well, actually, probably, I'm not really sure how far I want to thread it in. Probably not too far, just because we have new injectors going into it and stuff like that. So, which we'll have to reset where this screw sits. Because, well, now that's our main power screw kind of thing. So we want to put that in the right spot. But yeah, let's get this thing back on top of the truck. Then we got the fuel screw all threaded out for it. We'll move on and get this guy shoved back in here. Put the shaft back through. Maybe. There we go. Kind of work its way into place. Slide you back down. Alright, I think that's as far as it goes. Something strange here. That's better. That was a clunk. Okay, yeah, that's going to be more promising. Now we'll see if we can get this spring in place. Come here, Mr. Spring. Ha ha ha. Oh. Dang it. Oh, it went so far under the truck. We got it. Round 2. 3. 2? Sure, we'll go with 2. That looks like the right spot. Guess we'll find out when we go to start it. Make sure that's pulled up. Yeah, that looks good. And there's this washer. Well, we'll put the lock washer on first since it's stays central. And this guy goes on top. One thing to also be sure is, especially because you saw me moving this throttle linkage, there's a pin that goes inside of here that's running this way, and that engages into that fuel pin. Because I moved this, that pin's likely shoved out, so before I can put the fuel pin in, we got to push that back so we don't end up breaking it and causing us a whole bunch of grief. Oh yeah, it's definitely moved out. There, we should be good now. Match them up there. They do look pretty similar. nice. Oop. Something kind of just like that. Oh, actually, we forgot one of the main ingredients there. Forgot to put the spring back in. I'll pull that guy back out. Don't forget that. Now we can put it back in. There we go. I was wondering why it didn't come back up. Just lining up all the holes now, so that when I tighten this one screw down and then pull these back out to put the sensor back on, very nice. All right, new governor spring and new fuel pin in on our main pump. Next we'll move on to the guy down there. Go. And pump is out. The pump part on the bench. I gotta pull this one fitting out so we can reuse it. But this guy is done. You can see here, this is how it actually works. It runs off the camshaft and pumps. This is what pulls all the fuel out of the tank and shoves it up to the high pressure. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's get this fitting threaded into the new pump. I believe this guy's going to go in this front piece. Torqued. Get this one mounted onto the engine now. But first, before we can get that mounted on here, we got to get this gasket off and clean up the surface, because this is no longer necessary for us. Yes, there's one thing I forgot to mention that I gotta do too. Block this off so I don't end up getting a bunch of shit in there. To trim this this foam off a bit for the new line to come up in there. Damn, other people made that look way easier. Man, that's some hard ass foam.
goodness. There we go. There's one piece off. Okay, we'll try that now. The fun part getting this back bolt in. Oh, look at that, it's threading in. I wasn't expecting that to happen. Oh, got some fuel coming up the top. There we go. All right. Now we got the new lift pump on the block there. We need to do a little bit of trimming so that this line could run up like that and go into there. And then we've got this pump all reassembled with the new fuel pin and governor spring in it. Next we'll be putting the injectors in, get the lines back on, reassemble our throttle linkage, get all that sorted, and then move on to the turbo, the manifold and the turbo. Try you in this hole. And last one. Last one. Wonderful. All right. Well, we got our injectors in. We got the fuel lines back on. We're going to leave them loose for now so that when we can bleed the air out of it. And next we're going to get the manifold surface all cleaned up, get the exhaust manifold on there, get it all test fitted, make sure, see how that turbo is going to fit. We'll go from there. Oh. Yeah, that line's in the way a bit. Alright, we're just doing a test fit right now, just to see everything sits. Yeah, that looks good. Looks pretty good. Now it's just a quick
put it up there and see how much I gotta modify the downpipe. Let's see how this kind of sits in here. Oh yeah. Oh, we're definitely gonna have to modify that. That's like half the turbo flange off. Okay, so I wonder if it can slide back that much. We'll have to see. Oh. Right, take off just a little bit more. I think we should be okay. Yeah, take off another little slice, and that should be good. Right about there, I think should be good. I'll turbo sit about there, it'll be fine. Alright, we're going to get that tacked on and pull it off, weld her up, and then move on to the rest of the turbo. There. All right, so that's fit not too bad. The intake still fit?
pretty perfect. So I think we gotta rotate the center housing. The drain is facing the wrong way. Make a drain for it. See how well the oil feed fits and if we need to make a new one of those. And then we can actually take everything back off, put some gaskets in here. I'm gonna rewrap my downpipe. And yeah, then we got a turbo in there. Then next we'll bleed our fuel system after we get all this shit sorted, and we're almost done. We're almost at the end of the tunnel. See some light. What's nice of the turbo fits. Look at that. It's pretty sick.
That's it for this episode. Managed to get a good amount done on the old Dodge. In the next episode, we'll be putting the final touches on the exhaust side, bleeding the fuel system, and getting this thing fired up and seeing how it goes. So stay tuned for that, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.